Hi guys, sorry the video this week was delayed, but this week is food choices, and it's a good week for it. It sounds like because it sounds like we're a little bit busy this week. Wait, what is this? What is that? We've got graduation coming up. Lots of people with lots of things going on, and incidentally, very accidentally. This week is the hardest of the 3 nutrition weeks so far that I've sent out because it's not as geared towards like your day-to-day normal what would be in your house foods. It's a little bit more out of the box as it pertains to like veggies and things like that. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about food choices. I'm gonna kind of surface level go over a couple of just nutrition basics, and then let's just talk about, you know, when you're doing something like we're doing and you have a busy week, what the best things are, what the best way is to stay on track. Now, nutrition, as far as nutrition is concerned, some of you may have seen my video before, so sorry if this is repetitive, but there are 3 macronutrients: carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. None is better than the other. Some need to be consumed less than others, but likely not the ones that you just immediately thought about when I said that. Fat should be your lowest consumption throughout the day for a plethora of reasons. They have essential vitamins in them, and then they help our body absorb vitamins and minerals. So if you don't have enough fats in your body, then you can become vitamin deficient, and that's something you definitely want to avoid. But we don't need it in massive quantities because that's when we get into clogged arteries, blockages, things like that. Just storing, it's the least of the 3. And then we've got carbohydrates and proteins, and there's a fierce battle that has been happening for years over which one is better. It's not a thing. All 3 are required for our bodies to function optimally. Now, depending on what kind of each you're consuming, that would more than anything determine what you would eat more of, right? So if you're eating like super clean protein, and I mean like organic, free-range chicken from the farmer's market clean, because chicken from the store isn't always the cleanest, then there's not really an issue unless you want to get into like the morality of it, which is neither here nor there at the moment. Super clean proteins in that way, like wild caught fish and just lean meats. There's nothing wrong with eating those, never will be. You don't need them in massive quantities, but if you were to have one at every single meal, that would be reasonable. Carbohydrates, if you're eating Wonder Bread and processed cereal bars and processed cereal, you're going to want to avoid carbohydrates if that's where the bulk of your carbs are coming from. But if you're eating grains like brown rice, quinoa, beans, whole, sprouted grain bread, oats, things like that, then you can consume a larger portion of carbohydrates. Now, the rule of thumb is that carbohydrates are supposed to be about 60% of your intake. Protein is supposed to sit somewhere around 30%, and then your fats should sit between 10 and 20, because there's a give and take, there's like a 5 to 10% give and take on each of those. That's the generic rule of thumb. So when you're choosing foods to eat, you need to think about what are you eating for, right? So let's say, okay, Susie, I'm gonna use you an example, but I didn't ask permission, so sorry. Duncan's graduating, and there's been like an event every day that she has had to attend, right? So if I'm coaching Susie's nutrition this week, I would say, hey, don't be afraid to up your carbohydrate intake a little bit in the morning, and up your protein intake a little bit in the evening. Why is that? up your energy, your energy intake, right? Carbohydrates are our main energy source in the morning when you're going to need, because you're going to need the sustained energy throughout the day. You got a lot going on. Because you're moving around so much, you've got your nervous systems like in 1,000 different places, recovery is going to be super important. So protein at the end of the night for any, the breakdown that happened for your muscles, your workout in the morning, making sure that your body's getting the proper, because there's vitamins in our proteins as well, making sure your body's getting the proper vitamins in that way, and then rinse and repeat. Check in on how you feel the next few days, and then if you're not feeling great, let's reevaluate or whatever. So when you're choosing your foods, you want to choose according to what your activities are. If you're on vacay, for example, and you're like relatively loungy, I would say go veggie heavy. Eat your proteins, you can eat your carbohydrates, but go veggie heavy to make sure you don't have too much sitting in you that's not being used actively. So when you're choosing your foods, try to worry less about, well, I need to eat this many carbohydrates, I need to eat this much protein, and because those are normally the two that people focus on the most, and worry about, okay, what am I fueling for? What does my day look like? You got a hectic day ahead of you? Fuel yourself in the morning to have sustained energy. Your morning and midday snack, morning and lunch, fuel yourself. Make sure your evening focuses on your recovery, right? Those proteins, your fruits and veggies, things that are going to keep you healthy and feeling rejuvenated the next day. So that's, it's important to note that there's no best. Protein's not better than carbohydrates. Fats are not a bad thing. They have their time and place. And so that's important to be aware of. Kind of jumping into both realms there. When things do get hectic, for those of you who are like, man, this is kind of a crazy week, kind of not a great week for this particular nutrition week that we're having, remember that we're not doing a challenge. On purpose, we're not doing a challenge. If you have to deviate from what I sent you, you're not actually deviating. That's not even the right word to use. You're just customizing it to what your week looks like. If there were 2 dinners that you loved from the first week, and you're like, man, it would be so much easier to eat those 2 this week, cook those 2. That's why I'm giving you so many options, so that you can use them. I'm gonna have to unplug the Alexa because she's listening to me. That was crazy. Plug in those 2. Plug and play. That's what we're gonna get into a lot next week. I'm gonna leave some blanks in there. I'm gonna want you to plug and play a little bit into your nutrition so that this becomes really an intentional habit when this is over. But remember, my goal for you is that this is sustainable for life. And life gets hectic more often than not. How many times have you said to yourself, week after week consecutively, let me just get through this week. It's just this week. This week's just super busy. And before you know, it's been a busy 2 months. Right? So if whatever you're doing has to wait till your life calms down, we're screwed. True. Plug and play where it works best. We have so many options. By now you have 9 breakfasts, lunches, and dinners to choose from if you want to go with what we've been doing. Let's say you're out and about. You could easily go to Chick-fil-A, grab a salad with the grilled chicken on it, and ask them for the lightest dressing you can find, because dressings are sneaky. Ask them for the lightest dressing you can find. There's no fat in a salad though, so you could easily get an oil-based dressing and be relatively okay, as long as you're not, down in avocados the rest of the day. There's a lot of ways that you can make this program work for a busy schedule. Your goal is mindfulness. The goal is being aware of what we're intaking and why. Being a little bit more prepared so that those last minute, I gotta grab something moments are less frequent, not non-existent, because that's not realistic. For some people it is, depending on what phase of life you're in. For my particular phase of life, it's not. at some point I'm going to grab fast food. But if all the choices I've made all week up until that point are solid choices, I don't really need to be concerned. I was just like, man, okay, boom, let me make sure I'm prepared tomorrow so I don't have to do that, right? So when choosing your food, just be mindful of what you're fueling for and fuel for that appropriately. Be mindful of what you're choosing when you're out if you need to, and what is going to work best for you in that day. Don't force something that's going to cause you stress. Your body is going to, your brain will naturally avoid things that throw you into an anxious state. So if you're anxious about, I don't think I can cook these foods, and your brain will find a way to avoid it. Go do the laundry. If you'd rather do laundry than cook, we have a problem. That's not what we want. We want to make it as simple as possible. So, well, I hate laundry. You might love laundry. No shade if you love laundry, man. I love that for you. I wish I had that. That's what I have for this week. I'm going to get some more information out to you guys. You're coming up on the halfway mark. You guys are doing great. You're killing your workouts. As far as I can tell, you're being super diligent. You've been super supportive and responsive about the nutrition. You can always just shoot me any questions, text messages, or in the Facebook group. You can post them if you want, and we can go from there. Other than that, you guys keep it up. I know it's a little bit different and a little bit, it might seem maybe like it's not a quick fix, but it's not. It's not. Okay, I love you guys, and I will see you in the morning.